At some point, I realized the problem wasn't that I couldn't handle my life. The problem was that I was handling too much without asking what was replenishing me. Burnout isn't always about doing too much. It's often about doing too much of what doesn't give anything back. Most people think burnout looks dramatic. A breakdown, a collapse, a moment where everything stops. But that's not how burnout showed out for me. For me, it didn't explode. It leaked. And that was a moment that made this impossible to ignore. I was looking at a photo of myself, not in a critical way, not in a nitpicky, self-judging way where you start zooming in on everything. It was neutral. In fact, I just remember thinking very clearly, wow, I look tired. Not, I don't like this photo. Not, I look bad. Just, that woman looks exhausted. And then a second later, it hit me. That woman was me. What surprised me wasn't the tiredness itself. It was that I hadn't even noticed. Because nothing drastic had happened. There was no crash. There was no breaking point. No moment where everything fell apart. It had been a slow decline. Day by day, I adjusted. I compensated. I kept going. And when it finally saw that picture, it reflected back at me. It almost felt unfamiliar. Like, who's that woman in the photo? She needs some rest. And then realizing, oh, oops, that's me. That's how slow leaks work. They don't demand attention. They don't interrupt your calendar. They don't force you to stop. They just keep draining energy quietly while you keep functioning. And that's what makes this kind of burnout so easy to miss, especially for capable, responsible people. You keep showing up. You keep doing what needs to be done. You keep meeting expectations. From the outside, everything looks fine. But internally, things start to change. Your patience is shorter than it used to be. Your curiosity is quieter. The things that once energized you feel neutral. And because nothing is wrong, you tell yourself it doesn't count. You assume it's just a busy season. That's normal. You can rest later. Psychologically, it helps us explain why this happens. Burnout is not only about workload. It's about chronic misalignment. When effort continues without recovery, meaning, or choice, the nervous system adapts. Not by shutting down, by conserving. Motivation doesn't disappear overnight. It narrows. Joy doesn't vanish. It fades. You don't stop functioning. You just stop feeling fully like yourself. And that's why people in a slow leak often say, I don't know what's wrong. I'm tired, but resting doesn't really fix it. I should be grateful, but something feels off. Nothing is exploding, but something is eroding. And because people in this position are often dependable, it goes unnoticed by others. You're still the one people count on, which makes it even easier to dismiss your own signals. For a long time, I believed burnout only counted if I couldn't function. That is not true. Functioning without vitality is still burnout. It's just quieter. Explosions force change. Slow leaks allow things to continue long enough to become normal. And that's why slow leaks are the more dangerous one. They don't trigger intervention. They trigger adaptations. People live in low-grade burnout for years because they adjust instead of addressing it. At some point, I realized the problem wasn't that I couldn't handle my life. The problem was that I was handling too much without asking what was replenishing me. Burnout isn't always about doing too much. It's often about doing too much of what doesn't give anything back. Sustainable performance isn't about endurance. It's about maintenance. No serious system is run until failure. It's monitored, adjusted, serviced. People deserve the same care. And the earlier you notice a slow leak, the easier it is to repair. You don't need a dramatic reset. You don't need to burn everything down. You need honest signals and small adjustments. So here's a simple petite practice to close. Ask yourself 3 questions. First, where have I adjusted so gradually that I stopped noticing the cost? Second, what am I continuing out of habit, not intention? And third, where am I functioning well, but feeling flat? Don't fix anything yet. Just notice. Awareness stops the leak. Burnout doesn't always explode. Sometimes it whispers. And listening early can change everything. Check out the previous episode about mental overload and stay tuned for next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.